or The Bible Women is actually the name of the book. And I want to thank Roger very, very much for not only doing one of these videos, but also contributing so much to our retreat, as well as being in the Bible class and lending his huge knowledge. So, Roger, tell us about who you are and what you've done. And
Sure. We've been coming to St. Mary's for a little over 3 years now, as I recall it. I'm with the
you're at
Brotherhood of
St.
Saint. Oh, really?
Margaret. St. Mary's.
Oh, no, this is the other sister. This is St. Margaret's. That's on the sign. I read the sign. I'm the vice chairman of the Brotherhood of St. Andrews here at St. Margaret's, and I'm retired. I was an airline pilot commercially and in the Air Force. And that we have 3 daughters, all grown, all married. The oldest one with grandsons for us to go visit.
Oh, cool. Where do they live?
They live in Haverty Race.
Oh, so that's not far.
So not too far, yeah.
No.
So we see them pretty regularly.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well.
So that's fun. 8 and 5.
Oh. Lively.
Yes.
As someone who had 8-year-old grandchildren said to his wife, just don't tell my grandchildren I'm not 8 as well as they are. I'm 80, not 8. So let's talk about your women. You have a huge variety. We are talking about, we've sort of entered into the time and era around David, starting with 1 Samuel. So the first ones that you have are, once again, the women at the well.
Women at the well.
Or girls fetching water.
And it's a story about how Saul became known to Samuel, in that he would then become the first king. Saul's father had some donkeys, and they are lost, and he sends Saul and a servant out to find the donkeys, and they search all over the place. And finally they end up in a land quite far away, and Saul's thinking, if we don't go back pretty soon, they're going to be looking for us. But the servant says, well, I know where there's a prophet, they called him seers at the time, and we'll go find him. And I know where he lives, and he can tell us, divine for us, where the donkeys are.
Donkeys are. Okay, why not?
So, yeah.
That's a lottery ticket.
Right. So at any rate, it turns out that they encounter some women at the well just outside of the city. And the women say, we know where Samuel is because he's coming to do a celebration in a shrine. And if you hurry up right away, you'll find him before he is involved with that. Meanwhile, Samuel's been told that he's going to meet the future king of Israel that very day. And so they enter the gates of the city, and they're facing each other. So Samuel knows that this is the man, and Saul knows that he's going to find his donkeys because they told him that, in fact, the donkeys had already gone home.
How did the girls had been told by God to look out for Saul?
No, the girls are simply at the well. And,
okay.
And it's as if God had put them there, and perhaps he did put them there, to make sure that they would find Samuel right away, that the meeting would happen. So they were instrumental in God's plan. And they tell him exactly what to do. In fact, there's quite a few verses here as they speak to Saul and his servant.
Wow. So then, after them, quite a few years afterwards, you have the women of Israel.
Yes, this is just following David's battle with Goliath, and of course he won. And there's a huge celebration as he returns home, and you can say a victory celebration. And the women are chanting, Saul has killed his thousands, and it's King Saul now, but David has killed 10,000s. So what they're really saying here is that David's 10 times better than Saul, who's the king.
Not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
You're right.
Yeah. But because they were many, they couldn't really be shut up, and they really were telling the truth because the Philistine army that in fact, had been opposed and been beaten by David in beating Goliath, was 10,000s, whereas Saul had had skirmishes. So what they were saying was historically correct, but not politically smart.
Mm-hmm.
There's no retribution for them that we know of. What really happens is that Saul becomes so upset with this situation,
Jealous,
with
yeah.
jealousy, that he starts looking for ways to do in David, so that he cannot become king, because that's what he can see already going to happen.
Yeah. By that time also Saul had been tortured soul.
Yeah, yeah. God had literally cursed him with an evil spirit, and it was driving him crazy. And he got crazier and crazier. He became quite paranoid.
You wonder whether that was just an explanation of what mental illness was at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it must be cursed by God.
Yeah, epilepsy was thought to be a curse at one time.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Evil spirits.
Glad we don't.
Do that anymore.
Hopefully we don't do that.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the third woman you have, who is one of the worst. That is Michal, who is a real pawn in a political situation.
Yeah, this is kind of a sad story. Saul, in his paranoia, wants to make sure what's going on with David. So he offers him his daughter if he'll go out and slay 100 Philistines. And proof is brings back
And an anatomical.
their foreskins. So, at any rate, I just wanted you to say.
Thank you. No, you said it. That's all right. I'll let you do that.
So at any rate, he brings back 200. So David assumed he would get his first daughter, his oldest unmarried daughter, but that's not what happens. He gives him his second daughter, almost as a snub. So anyway, he gets the second daughter, and thinks now he has things under control. But in fact, he doesn't, because in one of his rantings, he chases after David back into David's apartment, and she helps David escape out a window and into the desert, and then sets up kind of a mannequin situation so they'll think that he's still in the room. What happens then is that she stays in the palace, which probably was expedient for her, but maybe not the best thing to keep her marriage going, because he goes off into the desert and has quite a lot of time in the desert, a couple of years, before he comes back. And so she's a pawn of her father, and kind of, although she loves him and sets him free, he kind of comes his pawn later in the story. So her story is a pretty unhappy one.
Well, actually, her father gives Michal to another man.
Yes, that's right.
Peniel. And they actually are very fond of each other, or at least Peniel is very fond of Michal. But then David comes back, surprise, and claims his wife back.
Right.
Michal also, though, at one point, David gets very excited in a parade and parades down the street with less than nothing on. And then Michal says, how undignified, can't you at least put some clothes on? Michal spoke her own thoughts, but so often we hear about women being such pawns. So with that variety, what would your takeaway be? I mean, what would you
With all three of the stories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to merge them all together, but...
Well, women should speak their minds, and because there's a lot of truth in it. And you may ruffle feathers, but you need to speak the truth.
I like it, yeah. Good. Well, thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome.